This is going to be the Gettysburg Electric Trolley Part 7 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And in our last video, we ended up at the Evergreen Cemetery, and at the end of the video I said that the trolley would continue through southbound on the Evergreen Cemetery. It would bear to the right and then come out to the Town Road. And this little hump of ground that you see in front of you is actually part of the original trolley roadbed. I'm going to walk over to it. It's a few inches high, and in certain spots you can actually still see roadbed material. The trolley came right through the Evergreen Cemetery on the outskirts and then right out here to the Town Road. And the hump that we're walking on is the old trolley roadbed, again at another part where it can be seen. Now, there are two photographs that I'm going to post of the Gettysburg Electric Trolley tracks in this area. The first photograph was taken from a camera position about right here. As it came here, it turned, and there's a photograph taken at this angle. In that picture, you can actually see the trolley tracks as they bend and head northbound on the Town Road. They pass by the 3rd New York Independent Battery. And then there's a second photograph of this battery taken from a camera position about right here, where you can just see the monument and the battery. And in the photograph, you will actually see the left flank marker, which today sits here, used to sit right here, and this right flank marker actually sat along the wall in that photograph. And I'll go and post the photograph that was taken from this position along with that video. Now, the trolley then proceeded northbound on the Town Road right along the side here, and then it went to the outskirts of Ziegler's Grove, just a couple hundred yards near the crest of this hill, before it bared to the left. And once it bared to the left, it then would go along Ziegler's Grove and out toward the high water mark. We're going to walk a little bit of the old trolley bed pathway here. Of course, as the trolley was passing this direction, it would have then again went by the Gettysburg National Cemetery, the Soldier Cemetery, and I'm sure that the guide would have explained. This is also the area where the guest that had the paid tour with the guy would have rejoined the trolley as it headed by Ziegler's Grove. In this area here, it would then bend to the left and head along Ziegler's Grove, and we're going to pick it up in our next video in Part 8 down at the other end of Ziegler's Grove. This has been the Gettysburg Electric Trolley Part 7 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. On Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And in Part 7, we left off where the trolley had turned off the Town Road and headed along the side of Ziegler's Road. There's actually a famous photograph taken from this vantage point, which I'll post, showing the uprooting or the uprooting of ground to put down the trolley tracks in 1895. And there was an article printed in the paper called "The Desecration of the Battlefield," in which preservationists, historians were appalled by the Gettysburg Electric Railway putting the trolley through parts of the battlefield that seen action. And the trolley then proceeded this way in Ziegler's Grove. The hump that we're standing on here and that you see in front of us is still what's left of the original roadbed. However, during the restoration of Ziegler's Grove, which just took place this year, where the area was cleared out, the old visitor center, which was torn down a few years ago, the parking lot was gotten rid of, and this ground was brought back again to its as close as possible to its 1863 appearance. A lot of the trees were raised and so on. In doing that, they actually tore up the ground, and they have to replant the grass, but it kind of looks like it did back in 1896 when they were putting down the trolley bed. Now, The trolley then proceeded in this direction toward the Abraham Bryan farm, which you can see there in the distance. And in part 9, we'll talk about how it then turned off toward the Emmitsburg Road, because the original intent was for the trolley to go just on the western side of the stone wall of Union defenders of Pickett's charge. However, a regiment put an end to that, and it was stopped, and therefore had to turn off and go down the Emmitsburg Road. This has been the Gettysburg Electric Trolley, Part 8, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Part 9 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook, and in Part 8 we left off just over here, and we talked about the trolley route coming in this direction. Its intention was actually to go through or just on the side of the Bryan farm, and then up to the wall where you see the 72nd Pennsylvania monument in the distance over here. But the 72nd Pennsylvania put an end to that. Their controversial monument and the placement of their monument was a bad and ugly scar on the Gettysburg National Military Park in its early day. But in this case, it saved the day. Because they own the land in front of the monument going out toward the Corridori property, they said that the trolley had not the right of way to proceed through their property. So an alternate route, instead of going to the Round Tops, was in this direction. The trolley came right up here, and then just behind the 107th Pennsylvania monument, the trolley then turned and headed out to the Emmitsburg Road. And there is a photograph taken from about this position here that I'll post, and you can see the trolley tracks bend right behind this monument. It would then go out to the Emmitsburg Road right over here before turning left on a switch right out here where the 8th Ohio Monument sits today. And then from this point, it would head down southbound on the Emmitsburg Road. This has been the Gettysburg Electric Trolley, Part 9, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Gettysburg Electric Trolley, Part 10 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And right here on the right is the 8th Ohio Monument. This is where the Gettysburg Electric Trolley, coming from the Bryan farm, then hit a switch and proceeded southbound here on the Emmitsburg Road. As it crossed this area and headed south on the Emmitsburg Road, at one point it actually crisscrossed an old railroad, the Gettysburg-Harrisburg Railroad, which was a steam-operated railroad that actually crisscrossed right here at this point here in front of us across the road, and went by the George Ward Monument from the 15th Massachusetts that you see in the field. We'll do that in another series. The Gettysburg Electric Trolley then proceeded along the side of the Emmitsburg Road southbound in this area, passing the Corridori farm and up here toward the Massachusetts monuments, which we will take over in our next video. This has been the Gettysburg Electric Railway, Part 10 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. 11 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And in Part 10 we left off near the 8th Ohio Monument, where the Gettysburg Electric Trolley hit the switch and headed southbound toward our camera on the Emmitsburg Road, passing the Corridori farm. Again, its original intention was to go from the Abraham Bryan farm in the distance, cut across the copse of trees, and then straight out to the Round Tops. But that was stopped by the 72nd Pennsylvania, who owned a portion of the farm on the other side of the Corridori farm. So the trolley then came this way in an alternate route down and past where you see my car today. It passed by the 1st Massachusetts monument, which there's a picture of that I'll post from this area, where you can see this monument. You can see the barn of the old Peter Rogers farm in the distance. And I'm sure when they passed this area, they did talk about the advance of Perry's Florida Brigade, the 2nd, 5th, and 8th Florida, which came on July 2nd, 1863, right into this area that we're standing now. Anyway, the trolley passed again where you see my car today on the right-hand side of the Emmitsburg Road and proceeded to the Peter Rogers Farm. Peter Rogers Farm in 1863 sat just behind this white picket fence here, a farmhouse and a barn, and it was later torn down and another house constructed, and that house and barn is the one in the photograph. It's also the farm where General Dan Sickles made his headquarters during the 1913 Veterans Reunion. Unfortunately, nothing really exists of the original Peter Rogers Farm except a sign out here that says the site of the Rogers House, 1863. The trolley proceeded on the Emmitsburg Road. Another photograph was taken from this spot right here, showing the 11th Massachusetts Monument, and you can see the tracks along the ground right here where the road splits. And of course the trolley would then proceed down past the Daniel Klingel farm here, which you see on the left-hand side of the road, and then around the bend. We'll take up in that area on our next part. This has been the Gettysburg Electric Trolley Part 11 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Trolley Part 12 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And on Part 11, the trolley came down the Emmitsburg Road. We talked about it passing the Klingel farm. As you see this bus coming toward us, it was on this side of the road, past the Klingel farm, past the 11th New Jersey Monument and the battery here. And in this direction, something happened. There was actually a sideway with a double set of tracks right here. There is a photograph taken from this area, and this would allow trolleys that were operating on the Gettysburg battlefield, since they were going in one direction and then coming back using the same tracks, the sideway allowed trolley cars to pass one another. And we'll talk about an incident where there were some near misses and even some accidents later on. But the trolley then would proceed where you see my car again is part of the original trolley bed on the Emmitsburg Road. The trolley would pass by these properties, and most likely the guide would then begin to speak about the Daniel Klingel farm or the actions nearby. I'm sure they talked about the Spangler farm in the distance over here, and of course the Trossel barn and farm where Dan Sickles brought his third corps, advanced them to the peach orchard, which is here in the distance, right across from the Sherfy barn and the Sherfy farmhouse. So again, as the trolley proceeded through the Gettysburg National Military Park, the battle was interpreted for the riders. The trolley would proceed down past the Sherfy house, and it would make a left at the peach orchard on the Wheatfield Road, and that's where we'll pick up on our next part. This has been the Gettysburg Electric Trolley Part 12 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Trolley Part 13 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Part 12 we left off heading toward the Sherfy farm, which you can see here on our left-hand side. The monument to the 63rd Pennsylvania Volunteer sits here right at the edge of the Wheatfield Road. The trolley proceeded to this point, and then it began to turn and head down the Wheatfield Road here at the peach orchard. There are a couple photographs taken from this vantage point. One of them taken here shows the old Wentz house. And then the trolley then would proceed on the Wheatfield Road on the right side of the road here, right along the batteries of Thompson's Battery and Hampton's Battery. And I'm sure when the trolley got to this point that the guide at this point began to speak of the action of Dan Sickles and the 3rd Corps here at the peach orchard on July 2nd of 1863. That battle is still very well interpreted on how Sickles disobeyed an order from General Meade and moved and abandoned his original position near Little Round Top to bring his troops here into a salient at the peach orchard, greatly endangering the Union line. The trolley then proceeded here by the peach orchard down the Wheatfield Road, past, like I said, Thompson's Battery here and Hampton's Battery right here. We'll pick this up on our next video. This has been the Gettysburg Electric Trolley, Part 13, on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Trolley Part 14 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And on Part 13, we left behind us on the peach orchard, and now we're heading down the Wheatfield Road. The Gettysburg Electric Trolley headed in this direction on the right-hand side down the Wheatfield Road, going toward the bloody Wheatfield. And as the trolley got down to this area, it is very well believed that the actions of July 2nd in the Wheatfield must have been brought up by those guiding the tour on the Gettysburg Electric Trolley. At this point, the trolley would then bend to the right up here by the 118th Pennsylvania Cornhuskers Regiment Monument, and it would cut across the Loop area and the Rose Farm, the Wheatfield area, where it would then come out on the other side, and we'll take it up on our next video there. This has been the Gettysburg Electric Trolley, Part 14 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. Trolley, Part 15 here on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook. And we last shot on the Wheatfield Road, which at the time of the battle was actually called the Millerstown Road. And we talked about, just before getting to the Wheatfield, which is over here, the trolley then bared off to the right and came up in today what area is known as the Loop. The old trolley roadbed ran through this, what is high grass now. And just beyond this over here, right about here, you can see a rise in the ground. That is actually the old trolley roadbed. In front of us here is a Pennsylvania monument that, if you look from its front into the woods, you can actually see a drainage ditch. Let's go over here in front of the monument. Right here, you can see the drainage ditch, and then just beyond the drainage ditch is the old trolley roadbed. The trolley passed right here by the 118th Pennsylvania Corn Exchange Monument, and then headed right over back into the Wheatfield area over here. And as we're going to walk over here by the left flank marker of the 118th, we'll pick up this area right here. The trolley then went and crossed right over here by the bridge and these boulders before entering the woods on the Rose Farm, on the east side of the Rose Farm property. You have the Rose Farm in the distance over here, the bloody Wheatfield out here, and then this wooded area, and the trolley would then enter that, and that's where we'll take up on our next part. This has been the Gettysburg Electric Trolley, Part 15 on Gettysburg Battlefield Facebook.